Okay, well, welcome back to the boat shop. As you can see by looking at the gasser, some things have happened, but not near as much as you would like. I get it, man. I'm busy. I'm crazy busy. Actually building the boat shop 2.0. It's really been a fight. I'll tell you more about it when we actually go out there and look at it. But let's look at some of the stuff that we've gotten done here. I've shot some video. I actually have a lot of video, and maybe I'll drop some in here and there throughout this video. Yeah, I got a mess of it. It's going to take me a while to edit it all. But look at this here. We've reinforced the floor, right? We're running a 16th inch floor material, and it tends to crack. It tends to crack right around the frame pieces. Why? Because of course, it's flexing right there all the time, especially on a wide span like this here. And so I've reinforced here a little bit. I don't know, it just got funky. There's no reason why this pattern is like this. It just is, okay? All right, deal with it. But the big thing is I wanted reinforcement off of each frame rib on this wide spacing. So that's why I've done that. Same is true here on these, and same thing over here. We have heavier reinforcement here. There's some other video. Maybe it's better than what I'm telling you right now, and I'll put it in here. Okay, hey fellas, welcome back to the shop. I know I said that the next video was going to talk about sponson design, and that's coming. It's really coming. But I kind of thought, you know, why not make sure that the center section and everything is going to be right? Let's do the fitment of the motor, the drivetrain. We're going to talk a lot about the floor today. Let's make sure that works. Let's make sure that's what we want before we go and finish this boat, right? So, and this will be important to a lot of you, I think. Not everybody's going to go design their own sponsons and stuff. The type of things we're going to talk about now are going to make sense for any kit that you buy, like from ML Boatworks or SLR, any of these other guys. So here's where I'm at. Right now, I've reinforced the forward floor for the motor. I do mount the motor on the floor. I have good reasons for that. I think they're good reasons. I have my reasons for that. These type of mounts, isolation mounts, are meant to be used in compression, where the weight of whatever you're isolating sits on them, not hangs on them, because they will tend to hang and they'll really swing a lot. So for me, I mount it on the floor. I know a lot of you guys hang them on the wall. Okay, it takes additional structure inside, as you know, if you've done that. Good heavy wall material that won't tear out, that sort of thing. With this just hanging on it, I don't like that. I sit this on the floor. So that's just me. You can do it or not. These mounts, these are really sexy, cool mounts. These are available from Rattlesnake RC. I believe it's HR Racing, a company out of Spokane that custom builds stuff for Bill over at Rattlesnake RC. A couple different things are available there. These are pretty cool. When I bought these, this add-on piece here came undrilled, so you have to drill your own holes, and that's kind of irritating because I want them to be precise, equal, and I can do that. I chucked them up in my mill and I got nice holes. We're going to talk to the gentleman that manufactures these and see if he'll pre-drill these for you so that they will all be exactly the same every time. Because, right, I break one or I want to have a complete motor and motor mount ready as a backup. I don't want to have to try to match the mounts. I want to be able to buy a new set of mounts and have them work. Really cool feature of these. See these slots? This can help get your clearance just right on your header or on your carburetor as need be. Doesn't work with a quick draw like I have here, because the quick draw mounts through these holes here that would normally mount your starter assembly. And you can still use a starter on a quick draw, but I like to use electric start. By that I mean the pull starter. But for any Zenoa application, as you know, if you've done this, they use these three here, and so these rears are slotted as well. So really cool. You can precisely locate the motor. Neat feature. Only available at Rattlesnake RC. Soon, pre-drilled, I hope. I don't know, we'll see. Anyway, I didn't mean to get off on that subject. Oh, yes, because it has to do with the floor, and we're trying to reinforce this forward floor. So, anyway, let's look at what we've done here. I should have shown you the pieces. Well, we'll talk about it. We'll get in there. I'll pattern this because it's very simple. Look at that, nice chunk, right? Found it at a yard sale. I think I paid 50 cents for it. Like, yeah, I know what I can do with that. I haven't even taken this apart yet to make sure that life turned out well, but it looks like it did. So, oh, here's the thing you'll notice. See how I reverse these clamps and I use them from inside, right? What am I trying to say? I don't really want to put a lot of weight on this because obviously this slopes up and away from the jig, right? Back here we can put all the weight we want and nothing's going to move. What I don't want to do is distort the boat in any way by placing a lot of weight up here. So any way that you can clamp internally, you're ahead of the game. Now I'm still pushing on the floor, of course, by doing this. So you're still going to be really gentle with what you do. And I use just enough tension to shove this wood down. And you can see epoxy is pushed out all over the place. That's okay. We're going to cut this out. We'll talk about that in just a minute. But this idea works in every way. Let's avoid hanging a ton of weight in here and just use internal pressure on it when you can. So that's why I do that. These clamps reverse really nicely. These not so nicely. These yellow DeWalt clamps are the greatest thing since sliced bread, so that's why I do those. This clamp is these clamps and this bar is across here on purpose because I want to make certain that this portion of the structure stays in place no matter what I'm doing up here, because that's my flat floor, of course, and then it begins to angle up at this frame section. I don't want, I guess what I'm saying, if I wasn't holding this frame section really, really well, any motion that takes place here would happen all the way back here where it's screwed down to the jig, right? That would be the next area of any kind of support. And there's a reason I'm showing you upward support, and I'll tell you in just a minute. Really lightly, right? I mean, I set these on there and just barely tension them just so that things aren't moving around. I'm very pleased that these aren't glued to the boat. You never know, you know, when you're epoxying and clamping and waiting. That's why these actually, you'll see, good, that came off, has a little dab of wax paper because I knew epoxy was going to ooze out, and I needed to put a pad there that the clamp would push against. So a little bit of wax paper and then the wood, otherwise these pieces could very well be glued in place, and that worked out very, very nicely. The reason I was concerned about not flexing this upward is underneath this floor right now, you can't see them because they're shoved under there. I'm actually touching a piece of material. It's actually a piece of Delrin, but it's what I had that was the right size that's underneath here. So before I did anything here, I clamped, right? Hold this in place. And then I pushed material underneath here. I started out with a piece of, well, this is 1/8. Piece of 16th, shoved it under there as far as it would go. What I'm doing is I'm supporting this floor where it comes up off of the jig, right? Shoved a piece of 16th under there, then I shoved a piece of 1/8 underneath there, then I went with 3/16, and I just kept going so that I had pieces supporting the floor all the way forward. It's not ideal, it's not perfect, that's why I don't want to put a ton of weight on here because I can still flex those pieces, and they're not everywhere, you know what I mean? But it does offer some support and keeps things from moving around. So anyway, clamp, put my support underneath, tons of epoxy, laminate these pieces in. Pieces? Yes, 2 pieces. Let's talk about the floor. 1/16 is what I've used here for the floor. I think I already mentioned that, right? It's very, do you know what, have you guys heard the term, the expression, hindsight is 20/20? Yeah, I don't know what it means either. So let's just talk about this instead. Now that I think about it, what might have been a good idea in the past that I now see clearly is that it might be better to use a heavier floor. This is 1.5 millimeter, 1/16. Maybe 1/8 is a good idea, especially in a situation like this where you have a span this wide. Why? Where is a piece of something we can... Here we go. This is a piece of, obviously a piece that didn't work out. A piece that I've cut it a lot. Oh, I know why. Hey, I was test cutting. Check this out. I just picked up a used but barely used RBI Hawk scroll saw made in the US of A. At least the sticker was. No, these things are made in the USA. I mean, you can really see all the machining. It's just obvious that someone in their backyard machine shop builds these things. But that's what I love about them. They're very, very analog. Really a cool machine. But the big thing is the depth here. This one is a 26-inch. So, you're cutting a piece of material for, if you're building a gasser, right? You're cutting big, long stuff. And on your little machine like this, it swings around and bam. And you're like, for crying out loud. So you go the other direction and you're boom. And you can't get it all the way, right? What do? You grab your Dremel and try to finish it, that sort of thing. Really irritating. Anyway, 26-inch, super excited about that. I set it up and was playing with the cuts here. And you can see I've made a lot of pieces already that I'm about to show you. No, that's the waste. Those aren't the pieces. I'll show you in a minute here. But anyway, where was I? Oh, yeah, flex. So here's the problem. We run the grain fore and aft, right? Why that? Well, that's to give it strength this way, because it's strong in the direction of the grain. It's only 3 layers. So you've got 2 layers going fore and aft. 1 layer is side to side. But what does that mean at the end of the day? Look at this. 16th flexes like crazy. In here on this floor, as this thing takes a beating from the water, it's flexing. It's going to crack. It's going to crack. Where's it going to crack? It's going to crack at this point of sharpest break. Where's that? Right here. By break, I mean B-R-A-K-E? Maybe it's B-R-E-A-K. But it means a different thing. Break is snap. Break in this respect is the pressure point, right? So it's going to pressure point right on this line as this thing flexes. And it'll crack here. I know because I've seen it on the bottoms of my boats, and you'll see the paint start to crack out, and the wood's going to give way. Could even blow out altogether. And on this boat, this particular version of the gasser, I've widened out this interior, so we've got this big span here. I think we'll be fine here and here, obviously. Support, real close. Okay, a little bit of flex is going to occur. Not much here. No good. Got to reinforce it. All right, even back here. But up here for sure, because we're dropping the motor on it. So all that to say, 1/16, we're going to cut it out for an engine well, right? Leave it on your initial floor. Build your support pieces. There are 2 pieces of 1/16 laid here. So this is a total of a 3/16 floor in these areas, which should be fine. I usually just go to 1/8. I've gone a little bit further this time. But with all of this said, my first piece, the interior piece here, just like creating a piece of plywood, the one underneath here, the grain runs left to right. The top one, it still runs front to back because I want the most strength that way for the motor. But I wanted to at least provide some reinforcement left to right up here so that this area, as I've told you before, my strong box is insanely strong. I'm going to cut this out in a minute. I'll grab the Dremel, we'll cut this out, and we'll see how the motor sits down in there. So don't go away in this video. We'll get to that. That'll be fun. How are we going to deal with it back here? I initially thought, especially for this area here for the strut, right? I'm going to use a through-the-floor strut. I have to for RC Unlimited. It's a rule. It's got to be, the strut configuration has to be more or less like the real boat, because this is a true scale version of a real full-size unlimited hydroplane that ran. And yes, dimensionally this thing is correct, as it has to be to run with RC Unlimited and some other divisions too. Other places they kind of let it fly, but this is scale. Anyway, strut needs to go through the floor because it did on the real boat. Okay? Can't hang it off the back here like you guys do with your 5-inch struts on the back. And I'm like, why don't you just make your boat longer? That's another subject. Okay, but anyway, so the strut mounts on the floor, and man, now we've attached that strut to the floor, and everything that strut does has to do with this thin floor, right? Certainly right to left, that strut's going to want to sway this wood like mad. Front to rear, yeah, I've got the grain running this way. It's okay, but it's still going to give, so I definitely have to reinforce this. What are we doing back here? I already made the pieces. We're going to use a piece of 16th that goes side to side. It's going to add this type of strength to it. It fit in there before. There it goes. And then a piece of 1/8. I went with 8 lithe ply. because we're going really heavy here now. This is 16th, 16th. That's an 1/8 inch. Another 1/8 inch. That's 1/4 inch. Light ply is going to be just fine. This piece is going to drop in like that. Now, why did I shape it like this? No reason. I just think it looks cool. Yeah, it's still going to allow a little bit of flex here. You know, I got a little span here. Not bad. Not bad. I think it'll be just fine. And this will be killer strong for the strut. Next piece up here. Sure don't need a whole 1/8 inch here. All I'm trying to do is just reinforce this a little bit. We just made a piece like this. Yes, I know I could have gone side to side with the grain. Oh, I don't want to do it. This part's going to take a beating. It's going to hit easily. Up there you take a beating because that part pounds the water like crazy. This section here, I really think it's just going along for the ride. So I think that's going to be just fine. We'll throw that in, we'll weight it, and it gives me a big broad area here that we've supported, and then just a short area of flex. So I think that's going to be fine. It's not going to be too heavy. Next piece. Doing it again. Look at that. Yeah, always put a little logo in there and then laminate it in where nobody will ever see it. Forward. Okay, so what I'm figuring here, we're going to be in this neighborhood. Obviously it's going to sit down lower and we're going to take a lot of this angle out. We're going to shoot for 6 degrees. We'll see where it lands. Yeah, less is better. The depth of the strut has everything to do with it. The strut depth gets positioned based upon the depth of our sponsons. We'll talk about that later. Don't panic right now. Okay, so anyway, we'll set the motor in. The angle will change a little bit. Exactly where the stuffing tube will pass through, I'm not sure. So I'm not going to reinforce any more than this right now. But what I will probably do as we get to positioning our strut is I'll probably add another strip right where it passes through. So right now, I'm going to epoxy the daylights out of these. I'm going to weight them in there, and epoxy is going to ooze out all over the place, just like it did here. And up here, in fact, let's talk about that real quick. When we put our clamps on and we put a whole bunch of epoxy in here, we put some weight on, we put some clamps on, we're pushing on it, epoxy starts oozing out everywhere. That's fine, and that's good. That tells me I had enough in there that it's having to push out. Great. Good news. Good thing. But it goes every dadgum where. So that's fine. Wipe it up as you go. I don't care about this in here. I continually wiped this as it oozed out, and I kept removing the excess. Right? And then at some point it stopped oozing and it started to set. Okay, cool. We'll walk away. Back here, same thing. You're going to weight it. It's going to ooze out everywhere. Use enough that it comes out. Wipe it all away. Okay. Don't worry about it. It's going to be just fine. All right, I got some laminating to do. I'm going to cut this out in just a second. I'll show you. Here, right, in fact, I'll do it right now. Don't go away. Right now. I mean, serious, right now. Here, we're going to do it now. Ready? There it is. Okay, so there we go. Got a big hole in the boat. It might not be precisely positioned yet, but really, really close. And we're going to mount the motor. Okay? Here's present thinking. Somewhere in this neighborhood. Actually really, really close. I've told myself for no particular reason that what I want is a 1/4 inch clearance right here. And that means that's where I want my motor. On the last gasser that we did, you may recall, I don't know if you'll recall, it's a long time ago, but it was more in this neighborhood here. The call, it was pretty close to this main cross piece here. We're going a little bit further forward. And about a 1/4 inch. And now we need to drill our holes, right? Well, how do we do that? How are we going to find the right spot? I'm glad you asked. We're going to work fast because the battery's almost dead on this really, really old GoPro that I'm running. Here's what we're going to do. Okay, just knocked 1/4 inch holes in these pieces here. Not precisely 1/4, but really close. A little tighter maybe, so they would hopefully kind of stay in place here. Maybe. Let's go front to rear on that. That'll give me more room. You'll see. Okay, yeah, you've noticed that? Yeah, I had to cut these. Oh, let's talk about that. We'll set it in here, and then we'll chat. Somewhere around there. As you can see, no, you can't. Okay, the mount's very, very close to this wall. Too close. You know what? By the time, wait till we get it positioned, you'll see. It's going to hit, I think, when it's running. You know what I mean? With the motor walking around. So I think we're going to have to cut this piece out, and I'll build a new one and mount it, you know, just a little bit further forward. If I do it right, it'll look like it never happened, and only you and I know. This is all about, this business in general is all about covering your mistakes, which I've gotten quite gifted at through repetition. Okay, so motor position. Like I said, fore and aft, I had figured that out in other ways, right? I've got good, I don't know why those hoses are still on there. I should remove them. Because I'll wind up replacing them and going through this motor and all that, you know what I mean, before the season ever begins. Where was I? Motor. Oh, anyway, yes, it fits very nicely with the cowling that we're going to have. If you'll remember the Stro, it's just it's a short cowl, and then there will be two automotive engines standing here. And I want it to end, a little behind the head, of course, so it doesn't hit. But with enough room that I can fit a driver and then weight far enough forward. My typical rule of thumb is I'm shooting for the sponson transom here with the spark plug, and I think we're just going to be ever so slightly behind that. That'll be fine. This boat has a Canard. Well, no, I know it doesn't yet, but it'll have a Canard, and it allows to control the attitude of the boat a little bit with air. I mean, you don't want to push the air around too much because that slows your boat down, but okay, there we go, 1/4 inch. So that's my fore and aft, and I'll have, I mean, all these dimensions will be on my plans, so I can always rebuild it if/when I need to. Now, position of the motor, right and left, right? If you've been around me a long time, you know that I position my motors ever so slightly to the left, and that's because I believe it's useful to pre-weight the outside sponson, because that's always the one that's going to, not always, that's the one that tends to lift. However, what do I want to say? Oh, in the Stro, in the 8-scale Stro, the boat improved as I added a little bit of weight to the right-hand side. So I think I've gone too far. 2 reasons this one is very nearly centered. Number 1, it just fits nicely that way. Number 2, I still believe it needs to go to the left, but only a fraction, 1/8 of an inch. Okay, that's my number. We're going to find that, laying this piece across here against the head. To the end here, it's 12. Now you know, no secrets, right? So 6 is the middle, right? Okay, I'm shooting for 6 1/8. I'm just going to stand a square up on the 6 1/8 spot, and I'm shooting for the, you know, roughly the middle of this bolt here. I'm just trusting that Mitch at Quick Draw got that centered, and if I know Mitch, and I do, he did. Oh, look at that. I nailed it just by... Can you see it? Pretty well spot on. Okay, so that's how we got that. Now we're done, right? No. What about the rotational position of the motor? Let's put this back in. Here's how we'll accomplish that. We're going to lay this piece in here, and I'm going to hold it like my life depends on it. It doesn't, fortunately, but I'm holding that up there really, really tight, and we'll carefully clamp it into position without letting it move. Okay, still good. I'm just going to keep holding it for a second. I don't like that one. Oh, here we go. And we're going to measure here to the side, and we'll measure to this piece. Okay, I realize it moves, but that's why we're going to focus on where it's attached to things, because that we know we have that positioned properly, if you built it right. And that is about 3, I don't know if you can see it, I'm reading it right here at the edge of this 1/8 sponson runner. 3 22/32. What are the odds that I got it super close? I did not. Okay, I'm at 3, and I hope you can see that, 14/32. So the motor's twisted this way slightly. We got to rotate. Doesn't take much. Pull your clamp. Hold it like your life depends on it. Fortunately, it doesn't. Clamp it again. Now look, I know a lot of you guys have been doing this for a long time. You're saying, man, them rubber mounts, they're going to move. You change the mount, a different one. And it's, yes, but shouldn't we start with it as closely positioned as possible? Yes, yes, we should. Can you see that? 3 and 21, almost 22. That's pretty square. I don't think life can get a whole lot better than that. Let's go there. But now what? Star bond. There's a link in the description. Get you right to it. Yeah, we're just gluing to the, no we're not, I hadn't clipped that yet. You know what, you know why? Some of you will be able to relate to this. I loaned it to my wife. You know where I'm going with that story. Oh yeah, when she got done there was glue all over the place here and glue in the cap and it would no longer seal. You know what's really cool? If you buy the big kit, did you see that by the way? There's been a beetle invasion here. There were so many out here I couldn't work out here last night. And they're still everywhere. I tried to sweep them up so you wouldn't see it. It was pretty disgusting. Whoa! Wow, did I make a huge hole. That's going to be a challenge. That is way more than I need. I don't even remember what I was talking about, except that my wife ruined my last cap. I fixed it. Oh, when you buy if you buy the big bulk Star Bond, there'll be a link in the description there. You get a whole bunch of extra bottles and extra tops. See, so I was able to. It wasn't the end of the world. I was able to solve that problem right away. I made her feel really guilty first, but then I solved it. And according to all applicable theories, those guys will kindly stay in place. I know, I practically glued the friggin' mounts down. I think I did on that one. Here we go. Right? You guys didn't move. Super duper. Let's ensure that we know where they're at, right? Ooh, too much. Just in case they decide to move while we're working on them. Because they will. Okay, now what do we do? Well, that's where this guy comes in. Man, if you don't have one of these angled heads, go get. By golly, there's a link for this in the description too. I've tried to, in fact, if you want to expand out the description section below my videos, I've tried to list a lot of the various tools and things that will help you. They sure help me anyway. Right? I could grab a drill. That's what. Why don't you drill it out? Well, because drills tend to explode wood, right? It'll tend to break the wood apart as it exits. Don't want that. Doesn't look cool. You remember these were a little bit tight, and we'll actually have to go slightly oversized on the holes, because as soon as we seal it and then we paint it and we shoot clear, the holes are going to close up. I know you're worried. I am too, that I'm going to hit the jig here. Let's raise it up. Back to work. There was so much super glue there that it soaked through. Not super glue. Star Bond. Stout now, baby. We've put the engine well in. I didn't shoot much video on that. I have shot video about this before. You can go back and look at this. Is 30 thousandths. Did I use 40? I think I used 40 thousandths on the bottom here for the floor. G10. I guess I didn't finish what I was saying. It's called FR4 in some environments, but it's G10/FR4, 40 thousandths thick, and it makes for a really great strong floor. I like it. I think it's cool. You just put wood there, it's going to crack out because this area just takes a beating. The floor up here has been really heavily reinforced, more than I would normally do. It's about a 1/4 inch thick now. All right, so that's really, really heavy. We do use floor mounts. I have these cool mounts that I got from Bill Brandt at Rattlesnake RC. These are pretty awesome. When you get them, the holes for the feet here are not drilled in this mount portion. It's drilled and tapped in the bulk of the mount here. As you can see, they're really heavy, by the way, a little more than I think they should be, but so be it. But you have a large area here, right? So that's pretty cool. You can drill and tap and move these wherever you want them. Again, you drill these yourself. So that's kind of a trick. You want to clamp the two together really, really well and drill so that they'll be the same height. But then they tend to swing around, and I didn't like that. So I got them mounted where I wanted them. Mounted the rubbers here on the floor, right, and set them on there and loosened the screws till I got it just perfect. Tighten them up. I don't know if you can tell. There's a roll pin right here. I drilled a little hole in each one and drove a roll pin in there so I can remove these, put them back on, and they'll always land in the same place. And they'll never swing around on me, right? So the adjustment will never change. Or, you know, the angle. I don't know if I'm making any sense. So, yeah, that's how I take care of that. But these are cool. Like I said, get them from Bill Brandt, Rattlesnake RC. I really, really like them. Really stout. I mean, look at that. It's gorgeous. It's really, really cool. I know you're looking at this, right? This is my standard coil mount. I've also made a mount for the super coil. Super coil, isn't that what they call it? I think I got it from Daniel Place. Where is it? Oh, here we go. Yeah, I know. I'm working on the new shop. Give a guy a break. It's really happening, but it's really, really cold now, so it's not happening as fast as you might like. Okay, so this is a mount I made for the super coils. And I wanted it isolated, you know, because coils, it seems like coils fail too much, and they shouldn't. Anyway, this will mount up here, right, on these rubbers. So the standard coil is an option here. I actually did this for Bill Brandt. He has troubles. You know, there's guys that make the metal piece that goes here to mount the coil on, and the coil, you know, is rotated in this way. And guys tell me that's a complete pain because it's a nut and bolt arrangement. If you need to change the coil in a hurry, it's a real battle. And so this setup here, obviously, the coil just lays down, but then I embedded lock nuts into the mount, so it's just 2 screws, and you zip them out and the coil's out in your hand. So if you got to change it in a hurry or you're having trouble with the boat and you're not sure what it is, just swap the coil real quick. Now a ground strap is required, right, from right here to this right here. I don't have it on there right now, but this was a prototype, and anyway, turned out really, really great. I have another thing. You know, I got an idea. Let's talk about this right now. Tell me what you think. Serious business. Leave me a message and tell me if you think I'm just completely off my rocker here. All right, here. I'm going to blow your minds. You ready? Okay, little servo horn, right? All right, wait for it. Wait for it. Fits. Oh, Are you picturing a little, one of the aluminum ones with the clamp, right? Where you can tighten the screw? Okay, that guy's on there tight now, right? One of these, and I thought of this because somebody asked me about making servo mounts for these little micro ones. I use these for throttle on my nitros. And somebody else saw my bigger mounts and said, hey, I need that for the little one. So I got this thing out, and I held it in my hand for about 2 seconds before I thought, hold on, hold the phone here, buddy. Are you feeling me now? Okay. Servo horn here, a little piece of linkage. Bing, bada bing. We have third channel fuel mixture for gas motors. Hold on. Okay, how am I going to do this? How am I going to mount it here? I can come off this mount right here. Now, I'm going to have to, draw something up and print it, but I don't see why I can't come off of this mount with a little horseshoe-shaped guy here. You can see I have the carburetor mounted at an angle because I want to be able to get the diaphragm in and out like that, race day. So this will have to angle a little bit, but look at that. Am I crazy or am I crazy? Why don't I do that? How come nobody has done this? Should I do this? Tell me this, because right, in a nitro, the fuel mix is just super duper critical. Man, if you miss it a little bit, it's amazing how much speed you lose. I don't think it's as critical in a gas motor, but is it? I don't know. Let me know what you think. Leave me a comment and let me know if you think that I should build an arrangement where I can have fuel mix on the fly on my gas motor. Okay, that was the thing I just hit me. And I thought, and then when I grabbed one of these and it just fit right on there, I thought, well, that's like a sign from above, right? I'm supposed to do it. So I think I'm supposed to do it. All right, let me know. I digress. Back to this. Okay, I've been building kind of these pieces. We're going to glue those in. Okay, get out of the way. Okay, reinforced floor. Heavily reinforced. Again, this boat is not going to be super duper insane light like my boats usually are, but I want this one to be strong and long-lived, last forever. You can see there's a lot of holes here. Maybe right now is a good time for me to cut in some video where I show my mounts and I show how the interior here goes together. So hopefully I cut that in right now. Man, I don't know if you caught any of that. I had a little bitty 16 gig card in there and a bunch of video on it, and so the GoPro stopped. Anyway, we've mounted the servos into our cool little mounts. 440 screws, nuts embedded in here. You're going to put this, you're going to figure out where it's going to go in your boat and then where you're going to drill the holes, right? How are you going to figure that out? I'm glad you asked. Each one's going to come with a little drill guide. I know it's a drill guide because it says so right here, Servo Mount drill guide. So figure out where you want it, mark your spot, drill your holes, you're ready to go, right? And now you're back. All right, here we go. I missed the spot here. Well, actually I didn't. I was really proud. I got the motor angle the where I wanted it, I thought. And I cut this out and I had my stuffing tube and it fit really beautifully. And then for whatever reason, I don't even remember now why, because I rarely get out here in the shop right now. I decided I needed to angle the motor a little bit more, and so when you angle a little bit more, when you angle the motor more, what's the stuffing tube do? You know, of course it swings down, and so it actually moved forward. I know this looks kind of ridiculous here. I might try to cover that up, but I just wanted to make sure I had good clearance there. So I filled this in, and now what do? Gone. So that's where this is going to go. And later when you see me at the pond and you see that in there, you'll know why that's there. I've told you before, this is all about covering your mistakes. So that's how that's going to go. The latest thing, I've been working on a couple of little things. This is cool. This boat has a fixed canard and an adjustable wing. Here's your fixed canard. These are actually 3D printed. This is a sweet filament. This is the stuff I use to make my servo mounts and stuff, and it's just, gosh, it's just killer. It's considered to be like an outdoor filament, right? It doesn't get affected by heat, it doesn't get affected by UV. Doesn't matter, it'll get painted. But anyway, you can see the halves are keyed here, so it fits together like yay. Drops in here. Yeah, cool, right? A hole here for carbon fiber rod goes through there, right? Oh, why is this recessed here? Ah, I'm glad you asked. Yes, I have one here. This is just 1/2. Again, can you see how that's keyed? So the two pieces will fit together. This is 1/2 of the actual adjustable part of the Canard. And so it just recesses right in here. Oh, you want to see it? Let's put it together. Okay, so this key's up here. I've already drilled my holes. Yeah, man, when I go out hiking with the dogs, I see old broken arrows laying around. Beautiful carbon. When finished, this is how it'll look. It'll be about this far out here. I'll extend it a little bit, you know what I mean, so I can epoxy around here. But of course, it'll be epoxied in place here and here. The tricky part is getting this one in. The tricky part is figuring out exactly where to drill it, but I nailed it, so to speak. This is not going to be quite as easy. There we go. Okay, right? So that goes into place. On this boat, normally I do a 1 degree, preload 1 degree, preload. Positive? Yeah, let's call it positive angle 1 degree. And I was torn between 2 degrees and 3 degrees this time. I think it needs it. And so, of course, I settled on 2.5. So, and it actually wound up right about 2.3. Used my little angle finder, you know, to set it about 2.3. And then this guy here, of course, drops in. Let's just use one since it's easier to load together. And there you go. Super cool, right? No, there is no rod going through here. I want to be able to just take this thing out, right? And if I've got a rod through there, then I'm stuck. It's permanently in the boat. And that's no good. Because, oh, why? Well, because I can print different sizes. What if I need a little bit more? Or a little bit less? Or I damage one, right? Okay, in and out. So how's it held in place? Just radio box tape. I know it's weird, but it's what I do on the little Stro. It's just a piece of strip of radio box tape across the top, across the bottom. I know, you see it there, and you think, oh, that's terrible, but hey, man, can you think of a lighter way to mount this? Then you just peel it off and the thing's out in your hand. I'll show you how we're going to make the little bracket that does the adjustment too. I got a real slick way to do that is super light and super cool and works perfectly. So that's, I know, right? Look how nicely that stuff prints. I mean, you can see there's even sheen on it. You can't even hardly tell it's a print. And that'll sand and paint really beautifully. I may even try to find some super dark blue filament of this same style. I kind of doubt it, but you know what I mean, so I don't even have to paint. But yeah, that's how that's going to go. Lovely. I'm going to do that now. I'm going to glue this in. I need to scuff these edges really quick because there'll be a nice fillet here, you know, going around it with the epoxy to give it strength. But it's going to be killer strong. This forward piece is a little bit heavy. This wound up, I think it weighs a little over 3 ounces. I guess, yeah, that's not heavy, right? I mean, try to build one out of fiberglass, way heavier. But it's strong. It's not going anywhere. You just have to trust me on that. Okay, so, and you know what? I know, you're looking at it, you haven't got much done, Scott. I get it, but this is a scratch design build as we go. So every piece, for example, sponson transoms, have to get designed as we build the boat, and it's got to fit within the rules, and it's got to fit within dimensions and heights and all that kind of stuff where you're going to want it. So this is what I have settled on for the basics of the sponson design. From my previous gasser, we've raised the sponson chine slightly here at the end. I had what I felt was a little too much drop in it before. I didn't think it looked beautifully scale, you know. I mean, it wasn't bad, but anyway, so that's up a little bit. The rest of the sponson is totally different in design. The ride height is different. I know it's going to look a little bit bulbous. There's a lot of material here, and you're thinking, man, don't you want that ride pad to be more separate? No, I don't think so. I don't think so. The real boat has this secondary step that I didn't design into the last one. I didn't notice it till later on pictures. So it now has this secondary step, which I really, really, really like. I wanted more width and more material here, you know what I mean? Instead of this surface being recessed, I want more boat to hit the water at slow speed. And reason being, I want the nose up in the air at slow speed so the thing will launch hard off of a slow crawl. So I think it looks a little bit funky, but I don't think it is. How does that make any sense? I don't know, but I like it. And so that's the way it's going to be. Our ride height, I'm going with 1 inch ride height this time. How do you establish ride height? If you've watched my videos, you know, but this is the floor. The flat part of the floor. Everything gets measured off of this, right? So it's a simple matter of measuring from here to here, and then measure from here to here, and the difference is your ride height. And we're going with 1 inch. It could be that 1 1/16 inch and 1/8 would be better on a big gasser, but you know what? It's really easy to add material. It's a whole lot harder to take it away. So we're going with 1 inch. Now my last one, I honestly, I don't remember exactly what I wound up at, but I think I went with 3/4 or 11/16, something like that. And the boat was too wet. I felt that there was too much of the center section in the water at all times, and it would react to the water. So we're going to stand the boat up out of the water a little bit more this time, and I think that's okay with the way that we've designed it, where it's a fairly neutral center section. What else do I want to tell you? That might be about it. I'm going to finish up these designs. This was the killer. I mean, getting the depth that I really wanted, the shape that I wanted, you know, width, all of that stuff. The rest of it now is just a matter of laying the pieces. I know what I want to do with my angles and so on. So now it's just a matter of building structure in here that gets me to where I know I want to be on all my riding surface. And we'll talk more about that later. I think that might be about it. If I think of other stuff, I'll add more onto this video. But I apologize for the sound of the heaters. It's cold in here now. Soon, the Boat Shop 2.0 will be ready. We'll be over there. It'll be quiet. It'll be nice. It won't be this mess disaster like we have here that I'm trying to work with. I'm going to go back to work on my boat. Go to work on yours. Leave me a message. Let me know what you're thinking. All right? Talk to you later. Bye.